Putting together a Thanksgiving dinner is not always easy, especially if you're preparing a big turkey with all the trimmings for a large group. It requires getting up early in the morning to get the turkey ready for the oven.
Truth be told, maybe you ought to start the night before, which is a better way to do it, I think, all told. Anyway, that's according to Chef Jill Siena of Dover. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
So specifically, we're talking about brining.
Yes.
What's brining?
I am begging everyone who's listening, who's watching this today, to please brine your turkey. Okay, I'm begging you. I get on my knees, but you wouldn't be able to see me anymore. Please do this. It's very, very important to making sure your turkey is the best it can be. Because it's a very effective way to make sure that your turkey tastes good from skin to bone. All the way down, that it stays tender, it stays juicy, and it's flavorful even without gravy. So if we have any non-gravy fans out there, it's a great way to make sure it tastes tasty.
So this is as opposed to what our turkey usually is?
Well, I don't want to speak for you, Jimmy. I don't know what your turkey normally is like, but normally...
That was pretty gracious, thank you.
In my family, or people that I have cooked for me, sometimes it dries out a little bit.
Okay.
It's very easy to overcook a turkey because all the different parts of a turkey cook at different temperatures at different speeds.
Yeah.
So by the time the breast is done, which typically takes the longest, sometimes some of the other sections are a little dry.
Okay.
Brining gives you an insurance policy. It makes it a little easier to keep things moist longer if your turkey needs to be in the oven for a little longer.
So when I think of brining, I think of salt.
So it's a big part of it.
But that's not all.
That's not all of it.
Okay, so you have here some of the brining, I guess, ingredients?
Yes, so this is your components for your brine. So like you said, brining is primarily a salt solution. Salt actually works in a situation like this through something called osmosis, which you probably heard in high school science class and never thought you'd hear again. But there's a lot of science in food. Osmosis means that a concentration is traveling from a higher concentration to a lower concentration.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is make a very flavorful brine solution based with water, and we're going to float the turkey in that. Now turkey is mostly water, just like we are. Okay. So there's a higher concentration of salt and sugar around it, and naturally, osmosis wants to penetrate through to make the concentration the same throughout the entire bucket, your turkey and brine combined.
So then this isn't really quite marinade?
No, marinating actually works through denaturing, which means that when you apply a marinade which has an acid in it, it actually denatures the outer layer of a protein and causes the flavoring to stick to the outside. This one, brining, goes all the way to the core. Brining is actually a really easy process, but it does mean that you have to have your turkey thawed and ready about 2 days ahead of time.
2 days?
Yes. So you are going to start preparing it the day before, but make sure he's thawed and ready 2 days ahead of time.
Okay.
So if you normally roast your turkey on the day of and need him to be thawed then, you probably want to have him thawed more like Tuesday.
Okay. So what do we have here?
So what you're going to do is take your biggest pot, whatever you have. This is about a 5-quart here in front of me.
Okay.
And you're going to fill it almost all the way up with water, just standard tap water. To that, you're going to add 2 cups of salt.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what kind of salt. This is just your standard iodized salt in the canister. You're going to add that to your water, and you're going to add a 1.5 cups of sugar. And again, doesn't matter what kind of sugar you use. This is just the standard white stuff. But depending on whatever diet you're on, you can use whatever sugar you like.
Okay.
You're going to bring this up to a simmer, stirring it to make sure everything dissolves.
Right.
And then to that, you're going to add whatever you want your turkey to taste like. So there's lots of options here I have on the plate for you, including the ones I use every year.
Okay.
So the ones I use every year are bay leaves, which I think most people are pretty familiar with the concept of a bay leaf, but you just break those in half and set those right in there.
Okay.
I also like to put cardamom pods in there, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what is it?
So cardamom is usually the second most expensive or third most expensive spice in the world. They go a long way. But what they do is they give you almost like a sweet spice, almost like a spiced ham sort of taste, which I love around the holidays.
Okay.
So it's a very unique spice, but you can get those out online or at a specialty herb store.
Okay.
I also like to put in a couple broken pieces of star anise. So we keep the nice ones, but then what do you do with all the broken ones? This is a great way to use them, because you're going to throw them out anyway once you get the flavor out of them.
Okay.
So I use my broken ones for this.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And then I also love to put in these 3 herbs in the middle. This one over here is rosemary, so dried rosemary. I also like to put in a little bit of savory, which is another dry spice I use, dry herb I use quite a bit.
Okay.
And dried parsley goes in every year.
Okay. All right.
If you want it to taste a little bit different, a little bit more spicy, you can add things like whole cloves, which are these guys here.
I'm a clove fan. I can't tell you why.
That'll give you like a spiced ham kind of taste to your turkey, which if that reminds you of the season, I love that.
Okay, okay.
And then there's also things like black peppercorns you can add in there if you want to put black peppercorns in there.
Okay.
And if you want a savory touch to your turkey, you can add minced garlic or onion as well to your brine. So stir that, turn off the heat, add anything you want, turn off the heat, set it to the side for about 2 hours to let it cool down. And that'll give a chance for all of this to steep and flavor your brine.
All right. This is fascinating to me.
Really
and we are going to actually take a little break and continue to find out more about brining and actually do a taste test.
Yes, I have both kinds for you. So we're good to go.
Stick around. Delmarva Life will be right back.
Back to the Delmarva Life Kitchen with Chef Jill Siena of Dover, and what you're looking at is turkey, and it's a selection of both.
Correct. So this is turkey breast.
Okay.
Half of it has been brined and half of it hasn't.
Now we need to step back a moment because you showed us how to make the brine.
Right.
So how do you brine the turkey?
So you're going to let it cool for just a couple of hours until you can actually kind of dip a finger into it without burning yourself.
Okay.
You're going to get a clean bucket or cooler, something that's never held anything corrosive, no chemicals, right? So you need a nice clean bucket that's big enough to fit your turkey in. You're going to drop your turkey into that container, pour your brine over top of that, the cooled brine that you had let sit in, and then add that much ice over it. So that pot size of ice on top of it to keep it as cold as possible.
That's
And
important.
that's going to hang out in your fridge for 24 to 36 hours before you roast it.
So what if you don't have room in your refrigerator for a cooler or something? Can you just keep putting ice in it to keep it cold, or to keep it cool enough?
You can, just be really careful, because again, nobody wants a stomach ache or a hospital trip on Thanksgiving, so make sure your turkey stays cold. You also can cut your turkey up a little bit. You can cut it in half or cut it into pieces in order to get it into a container that fits inside your fridge if you prefer.
Okay, so you don't have to brine it whole, you can brine it in parts.
No, you can do it either way.
And how long? You said 24 to...
For a 15 to 22 pound bird, 24 to 36 hours tends to be okay.
Yeah.
Take them out of the brine, rinse them off real well, and pat them dry. And then you can season the outside however you want it, and then you can roast it or deep fry it or whatever it is that you normally do with it.
As long as you get it dry.
As long as you make sure he's dry. Yep, absolutely.
Especially if you're deep frying.
Yes.
Can we try?
So, do we know, are you going to tell us which is brine?
So
and
this
which
is, I'd like you to start with the unbrined, which is on this side, which has just been seasoned. So just rub in with oil, season in salt and pepper.
Okay.
And it's the same thing I did to this one. However, one has been brined and one hasn't.
Okay, all right.
So hopefully it'll be tender and juicy for you on both sides if I did my job right.
Yeah, well they
But you're
look
going
great.
to taste the brine in the brine one.
Okay.
And it's all white meat, because
Right.
I'm a white meat girl, so.
It's pretty darn good.
Yes. That is very good.
Thank you.
And that's the unbrined one.
That's the unbrined one. So it's your standard roast turkey, like you would probably have if you take it out the morning of, rub some seasoning on, and put them in the oven. Key with turkey is not overcooking it.
Okay.
Now
No
we're
matter what
going
you
for
do
the
to it,
brine
don't
one.
overcook it. Yep. So you can grab a piece of that brine from the center or the top, wherever you like.
Now you pointed out that this looks a little bit different too.
Correct. So it might be tough to see on camera, but it's actually held its juice quite a bit. It's a little bit darker because I used darker herbs like cloves and cardamom and allspice in the turkey, which colors the meat a little bit. That's completely normal.
All right.
That's what you
I
want.
want to see Jimmy's face.
Now one of these has skin, the other does not, but
I roasted them both with the skin on.
Right.
Just some came off when I cut it.
when you cut it. Okay.
I like to leave the skin intact when I roast a bird like this.
Uh-huh.
Different, right?
Very
my
flavorful.
goodness.
Very, very flavorful.
That's amazing.
It is.
No gravy, no salt and pepper added, nothing, just the way it is. That's a good turkey sandwich. When you brine it, you have a great turkey sandwich the next day because you don't need a lot of condiments.
If you have not tried this, you've got to brine.
I know what I'm doing this Thanksgiving.
That's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. Jill, thank you
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Please brine your turkey. Let me know if you have any
Brian,
questions.
I know I will be. And you'll impress all of your family when you talk about osmosis and all that other stuff
I
at
won't
the
remember
table.
any of that.
Not just for college learning anymore.
That's
Osmosis is a real thing.
That's right. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much.